Hi guys, hope you're all alright. I've finally sat down and got a chance to answer the questions that you've all asked me on my Ask Me Anything post. So I appreciate that. Thank you for taking the time to ask me a question. I'll try and answer as best I can. I've written the questions down, so I've got a chance to go through them and explain for each one. So the first question I got asked was from Rach, who asked me what was my first successful magic trick and how old was I? So performing as a professional, I've only been doing this for about 4.5, 5 years. So it's still quite new to me in terms of that. I did have a few magic sets when I was younger. I remember one in particular. I had a street magic set, and it come with like a magic hat, like a cap and things. I used to perform for my family and stuff. But in terms of performing at this kind of level, it's only been 4 or 5 years. So I'd have been sort of mid to late 20s when I first started performing that kind of magic. The second question of the day is from Simon, who asked if I can make Patrick disappear. Now, I know that'll make life a lot easier for both of us, but unfortunately, I can't make him disappear. But I could make a few phone calls. I'm sure I've got a few contacts somewhere for the right amount of money who can make Patrick disappear. So yeah, let's go for it. Let's make some calls and we'll see what we can do. Next up, question from Andrew. So Andrew, thank you for taking the time. I know you're a busy man, but the question he's asked is any trick or effect that I don't want to learn, or am I always trying to reverse engineer it to discover the method? That's a really interesting question, because whenever I watch magic now, my mind automatically goes to how that effect is being done. And I do automatically, without even thinking about it, try and work out what is going on, which is slightly annoying. But at the same time, it makes it a lot more effective for me, because I then can appreciate the amount of time and effort that's gone into perfecting that method or that part of the craft. So I would say there's not really any methods or anything that I don't want to learn. I'm always trying to develop my skills and always trying to get better and better each time I do some magic, whether it's just tweaking the way I control a card, or whether it's tweaking the bit of patter that I say along with it, or something along those lines. I'm always trying to get better and better. I would say that in terms of reverse engineering the method, it is automatic. There's no real control over it. It's just where my brain goes to these days. So yeah, thank you for your question, Andrew. Next up, question from Leah. Now this one is a big one. So what came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. I really don't know. It's a good question, but unfortunately it's way out of my remit. Maybe you should ask some sort of scientist, because I ain't got an answer to that one. So a question from Colin. So Colin is a guy who I helped propose to his future wife, and I'm also going to be performing at his wedding. So massive love to you, Colin. Thank you. So he asked me a question: who do I prefer, Dynamo or David Blaine? So I'm a big fan of both of them. David Blaine, more these days, has gone down the illusionist route rather than as a magician, and Dynamo is a Yorkshire lad. I've got to give it to Dynamo. I would say out of the two, I would prefer Dynamo. So thank you for calling. And Yvonne has asked, can I do the trick that Dynamo does with a phone? I've seen Dynamo do quite a few tricks with his phone, so I'm not entirely sure which one that you're talking about. My favourite trick that Dynamo has done with a phone that I've seen him do, I think it was on his Magician Impossible series quite a few years ago, where he got a phone and then turned it so that it was half facing backwards, half facing forwards. I've got an idea how it's done, but wonderful effects, and I would love to learn how to do that. So if that's the one that you're talking about, yeah, I kind of know, but I would love to learn how to do it properly so I can perform it out in the streets to you guys as well. Kev has asked, Kev of the Squirrels, one of my quiz teams. I appreciate you taking time to ask a question. So we've got, what is my favourite trick to perform? Favourite trick to perform is level 1. So that is a new version. I've had to buy another one because the one that I've got is fairly used now. I've been using it for about 4 years in performing, but that is my favorite trick to perform in. If you've not seen me do that before, so it's a trick where you can get a selected card in the deck and then reduce the deck down to half and then down to one card, and the one card that is remaining is the spectator's chosen card. unbelievable trick. It's one of the first purchases I've made when I first started performing magic. And I'm really pleased with that, and the amount of time and effort I put into practicing that. I would say I've got to a point now where I'm pretty decent at it. I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything, but yeah, that is one of my favourites to perform. And he also asked the best trick that I've seen. So that's a fantastic question. In terms of best trick I have seen, I went to see Derren Brown live. It was a Christmas present from the wife a couple of years ago, and when I went to watch Derren Brown, he did a magic trick with a spectator on stage. I'm not going to give too much away because you need to see it to understand the amount of skill going on in that performance. But it is available on 4 On Demand. If you head over to Channel 4 and search for Derren Brown, I believe it's called Showman, that particular show that I watched live. Give it a watch. It's absolutely unbelievable from start to finish. Great story, great presence. The way that he performs on stage is just second to none, and I would highly recommend it. But yeah, best I've seen with my own eyes, it's got to be Derren Brown. Next up, question from Cheryl, the wife, asking me what goes through my head while I'm performing. That's quite a difficult question to answer because there's a lot of things happening while I am performing. So whether it's remembering my lines, whether I'm remembering where I've controlled the card to, where it's meant to be, where I'm moving next, which card it is there something I can do along with that card to enhance that piece of magic, or whether there's something that the client have said that would be able to be incorporated into the story a little bit later down the line. There's a hell of a lot going on. It's quite hard to say there's one particular thing going off in my mind at that present time. But while I'm performing, I try and do the best I can do to make sure that whoever I'm performing for is enjoying themselves as much as possible. So I try and feed off their energy. I try and understand what parts they're enjoying and what they want to see more of, and I try and elevate my performance to match what they are looking for in that situation. So yeah, that's everything that's probably going off in my head every time I am performing for anybody. So thank you for the question. And a question from Big J Bets. So thank you for the question. You've asked me what or who is my biggest inspiration. Now, in magic, there's millions of people to look up to, but there's a few that really jump to mind for me. So first of all, one of the people I started watching quite early on when I first started wanting to learn magic, Chris Ramsey. He's a Canadian magician who also does puzzles and things. And when I first started watching him, he had something like about 50,000 subscribers. He's now pushing 5 million, I think. So he's doing pretty well for himself. Also a big fan of Joshua J, as well as Andy Gladwin, both of Vanishing Ink. So where I get a lot of my magic products is from Vanishing Ink, and those guys are very inspirational. They explain things in the right way, and especially in this book, How Magicians Think, Joshua J does a really great job of describing what goes through a magician's head. So Cheryl, your question a minute ago, what goes through a magician's head? Give this book a read. I've got it on my bookshelf. Go on, pick it up, and you know you want to. And as well, I mentioned it earlier, but Derren Brown, great mind, unbelievable. So in terms of what he's done for magic and mentalism, there's nobody bigger, especially in the UK. Like in terms of UK magicians, Derren Brown's got to be up there with the very best. And Catherine has asked a question. Now, Catherine, bear with me 1 second. I've got to do a quick change for this one. So Catherine asked, if I'm magic, why does Sheffield United keep losing? That's a great question. I thought they'd do a little bit better this season. I'm not going to lie. It's been a rough old time, but all blades, aren't we? It's only going to get better, I promise. And a quick change back, and we're back. We're good. All right, so next question, we've got one from Oscar, who asked, what's my favourite trick to perform? I did cover that just a little bit ago, but it is still, favourite trick to perform is level 1. And if you want to see me perform it, just ask me sometime and I'll show you that trick. And if you want to get it from yourself, it's available on Vanishing Ink. Just search for level 1. And a question from Bo, who has asked me, what card number did I get from the Magic Circle? Now, I'm not sure if you're getting the Magic Circle confused with a little group called the 52, but you don't get allocated a card number when you become a member of the Magic Circle. You get given a membership number, which is a little bit different, but the 52, if any of you don't know, is a group of magicians. So there's only 52 of them, 54 if you include the Jokers. There's a couple more people in that group there. If you want to know a little bit more about them, I can recommend reading this book. It's called Magic is Dead by Ian Frisch. Excellent little read. That's all about Chris Ramsey, who I mentioned a little bit earlier. Also, Daniel Madison, Laura London. These guys are the people who created the 52. And they are the ones who initiate and get people into that group. That group is now full. So there is a full deck of the 52. Each one of them has had a card allocated to them. And you can recognise them because they have it tattooed on the inside of their finger. So, yeah, I'm not sure if you got in the two mixed up, but if you're wanting to read this book, I'd recommend it. I can lend it to you if you want, Bob. Just give me a shout. And finally, one more question. We've got a question from Dave, who asks quite simply, how dare you? Now, I'm not sure which aspect of my life you're wanting me to explain about this, but I dare. Bring it on, Dave. I'll take you on. No drama. And that's everything I've been asked so far on the Ask Me Anything. This is open, so if at any point you feel like you want to ask a question that you think I could be able to give a good answer to, fire it to me. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. I appreciate you taking the time to ask the questions, and I'll see you all again very soon. Peace.